Before we get started today, we just wanted to provide a quick caution and trigger warning because we're going to be discussing subjects such as death and violence, and we don't want anyone to get triggered. We hope you enjoyed today's episode of Touching the Stove. Good afternoon and good evening. We believe in transparency and authenticity over here. So we're going to acknowledge that we dropped an episode 3 weeks ago and kind of went quiet. But we're back.
Well, in our defense, it's been Thanksgiving, got holidays, and people's is broke because, I bought a 500-pound safe, and I'm not even kidding. I bought a 500-pound. You want to see it?
You actually
I bought a 500-pound safe. My mom asked me for we were in Costco. Mistake number one, holiday season at Costco. Big mistake. Mistake number one, my mom asked me for a safe. She wanted a safe for Christmas. And she was like, hey, get me this safe. I said, okay, I'm thinking it's one of them small little, you know what I'm saying? I go to where she point. It's one of those big cartoonishly combination type safes. You know, the ones you see in the cartoons, it's like Fort Knox. And I look at it, I said, $500 for a safe? I better be able to store life in there. I better be able to store time itself in that safe. Anyway.
That, that brings us to the topic of the day.
What else?
Unfortunately, there has been an increase
in violence.
And taking lives.
Today we are going to show you guys how to choose violence, at least from a communications point of view.
We're going to dabble into the ways that communication influences violence so that you cannot choose it.
I'm all for choosing violence.
I don't want you to, I think I'm too cute for jail. But for the rest of you, if you believe you can make it, shoot your shot. I did hear that the state penitentiary is overflowed right now, so you probably don't want to commit a crime.
For the women or men?
Both.
Really? Which
bed.
Penitentiary?
The one down the street.
In Maryland?
Mm-hmm.
Really?
They don't got no beds. Because people were doing petty crimes during the holidays.
Well, yeah, it's the holiday season. Anyway, speaking of holiday season, depending on which side of the stock market you're in, you may have heard of the CEO of United Health. He got clipped, murdered, bodied, schmottied by some random assailant who, as of this recording of the podcast, we still don't know who, but we can guess why. Those premiums, those denying of claims, those rejections, weren't they trying to do something with anesthesia?
They were trying to do a lot of things, and a lot of people are not happy about their plan.
People are not happy. And guess what? If this continues, this is going to lead to what I found the other day, and this is the purpose of this episode, a psychological principle called Amok, right? A-M-O-K, similar to the term running amok, which is what a lot of y'all are finna be doing if this guy continues to get away with it. I see it. And I want you to know, as a podcast host, I will be talking about it. So if you decide to get brave and do something to a CEO, you will make it on this podcast. Best believe that. And for the good, for better or for worse, but you will be immortalized, at least on this podcast. So, not saying that there's your motivation, but what I am saying is, you have a home here.
I'm literally screaming. But no, the larger statement or the larger picture here is that things have gotten so bad. People stop using words. They stop, asking, pleading, trying to find reason, and they just took action. And unfortunately, that action was violence.
So you mentioned people are angry, people are frustrated, right?
So especially at the end of the year.
Right. So what Amok proposes, the psychological principle, is, right, when somebody sees a form of violence, they are more likely to commit a similar act, if not the same act, in order to express themselves and have a release for their own internalized feelings. And one of those releases, unfortunately, according to this principle, is violence, right? So when we're discussing from a communications point of view why someone chooses violence, Desiree, do you think it's a monkey see, monkey do sort of situation? Or why would somebody from a communications perspective choose violence?
I think it is that intrinsic woe or that awe factor, right? Think about it. A lot of us, fellas, I can't really speak to y'all, But for the ladies, why is there such a fascination with crime shows and serial killers? And I mean, I'm sure the guys also tap into like the investigative things, but it's like growing up, Criminal Minds, NCIS. I mean, these are things that like literally captivated us. We were seeing violence perpetuated. We were seeing Law and Order, Special Victims Unit, violence, heinous crimes, but it was fascinating. And so much so that some people took it into their own account and wanted to be copycats. There was that whole, like, I watched a documentary on, was it Elliot? He wanted to recreate mass shooting. Yeah. Yeah, he was committed to recreating that. He didn't get that far.
So what you're speaking to is essentially we're all fulfilling roles in our society, right? So the role of somebody who is violent, right? Is someone taking on a role as the voice of the people for why someone would want to choose violence? Let's look at this CEO murder, right? Whoever this guy is, his motives are, at this point of recording, we don't really know, but I can take a guess, right? United Health, a lot of people aren't happy with them. People get denied their claims. They don't get certain coverages in areas they really need them. I've heard literal horror stories where they had to give a particular patient certain medicines because they didn't meet the requirements to get coverage for the medicine that they actually needed. And these medicines were giving patients seizures. So until they reached a boiling point, that's when, or the patient in question was about to pass away or whatever the case, all of a sudden, then they're granted access to the medication that they were supposed to be taking from jump, right? So if you're looking at all of that, whether or not this guy was a disgruntled employee, a stakeholder, somebody, family member, right? This person, from that perspective, has a reason to be upset, but they chose violence. So this is the essence of what we're trying to get to here. A follow-up question I have is violence ever an option, barring a situation where you're fighting for your life? Excusing something like that, all right? Because obviously, if somebody's trying to attack you or whatever, put him down. Put him in the ground or her.
We are talking self-defense.
Yeah, self-defense. But you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, if I see that you about to do something to me, I'm going to take you out before you take me out. You know what I'm saying? That I wouldn't consider that self-defense in that case because I know what you're about to do. Like, imagine I overhear somebody trying to put a hit on me, right? Oof. And that, right, I overhear it. In that case, it's not self-defense, right? Because the hit hasn't taken place, but I hear it. I hear y'all making plans. Yeah, I'm going to put you down first. Or I guess
so that brings
the responsible thing to do would be to report them to the proper authorities, right? That's the responsible thing. So for all y'all listening, report them to the appropriate authorities. But if you're me, I'm choosing violence in this case.
So that was the other thing. It's right. This individual may have also just been contracted.
Okay, I didn't consider that. Contracted. Yes. What do you think that proposal looks like?
I have no idea, but somebody would have could have put a hit on the man. It could have been personal. It could have been business. It could have been both.
You think it was Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Absolutely not. Don't talk about my insurance that way.
You think, no, wait a minute. If the CEO of United Health gets clipped, right, then that means their stock value probably plummeted. Mm-hmm. Probably. I don't know. I got to look at it. Right? But that means Blue Cross Blue Shield, is up.
But Kaiser's also up.
We love Kaiser.
So you see. But the thing is, again, that is a massive statement. Right? People are going after leaders. People are going after individuals with influence and affluence. There's on Twitter, they're like, okay, so what's the McDonald's CEO name? Because we missed the dollar menu. Or
no, they brought that back. Apparently.
Apparently. Mans was like, wait, let's actually listen to
hey, wait a minute. CEOs are getting clipped. But let's speak to that, right? So we're talking about choosing violence, right? What are the mental gymnastics someone might go through? Okay, so we've decided that some form of unfairness, right, is being taken place. That might be a cause for violence. Of course, this excludes cases of self-defense, okay? Obviously. We're talking about outside of that. Unfairness, maybe even oppression, right? But let's look at those school shooters, right? Those people who are going into school shooting up everything, some would argue, I've seen people argue that this is no different from that.
The motif.
The motif is no different. Well, actually, no. The motif is different. Well, the motif in this case is different, but the end result, right? A person decided one day to wake up and shoot somebody.
Correct.
Right? The arguments that I'm seeing are that if you're cheering for the death of a CEO, then by that same logic, you should be cheering for the death of these kids, which, there is no justification for killing kids. I feel like that should not have to be said. And by the way, kids are not the ones making decisions that are literally affecting people's health for profit. But at the same time, let's analyze that argument, right? Why would a school shooter choose violence? The kids are not unfair to you. They're not oppressing you unless you're a student and, maybe you have a bully or something.
Sometimes they are.
All right, but let's say that's not the case. And let's just say, hey, you snapped. So why would someone do that?
Typically, from a sociological perspective, right? A psychosociological perspective, school shooters get gratification from being able to assert dominance and power. They know that they can come into this environment, into this area, cause commotion, and probably even make a title or a name for themselves.
Run amok.
Like they are also very much aware that they might not survive the situation. But at that point, all care and consideration for things that are logical and civil have gone out the window.
So we're choosing violence thanks to unfairness. We're choosing violence due to oppression. We're choosing violence to make a name for ourselves, right? So back to the healthcare guy. Do you think he's making a name for himself?
Well, I mean, everybody...
It's definitely premeditated.
At this point...
At least in my opinion. In my opinion, this is definitely premeditated.
I have not heard about United so much ever.
Correct. And now there's a microscope on that company because... you don't just wake up one day, well, I guess in this guy's case, but like for the most part, you don't just wake up one day and say, you know what, I'm going to shoot the CEO of United Healthcare.
Yeah. In broad daylight.
In broad daylight.
In New York.
Smiled at the camera and everything. Say, yeah.
With people just there.
If you think about it, like, if I'm choosing violence, how else am I going to do it?
I mean, sometimes people do things, at night where there's more protection, maybe in a less crowded area. Mm-hmm. You could have misfired and hit somebody else. The precision of the shot.
And apparently, I was reading a news article. The guy, his gun jammed apparently like a couple of times, but he had enough finesse and know-how. So this is a guy who's trained,
skilled. That's why
he had enough skill to adjust to his gun misfiring, recalibrate it or do whatever it is he had to do, and then fire again and still hit his mark and walked away like nothing happened.
Correct.
That's gangster.
Very.
So speaking of gangsters, right? You mentioned that this is maybe he was contracted out. Mm-hmm. Right? We choose violence for money.
For money,
not just the fame.
For resources.
Just straight up money. Hey man, listen, you take this dude out, I'll give you $1,000. You'd be surprised.
1,000?
What? You'd be surprised.
I don't think that's enough.
How much money could I give you right now that would make a significant impact on your life?
100,000.
100,000. Okay. Now,
without taxes.
No, just okay, yeah, straight up.
Actually, 300,000.
But there are some people that would take depending on what kind of violence it is. Like, maybe kill somebody, maybe no, but like beat them up. I could definitely pay somebody $1,000 to beat somebody else up, and they'd gladly do.
I mean, again, I think we're speaking to several factors here, right? Mm-hmm. One, who is the target? Right? 2, what is the impact of the action that is being made? And 3, what are the narratives and the stories and the communication that take place after an incident has taken place? If it was Luke down the street that got murked, well, I don't think we'd even be talking about it. But very often, when stories are told and they are trending and they're given notice, it is because whoever was involved is a large player. And then the other thing is, what does that signal to everybody else that's in that circle or that's in that caliber or that group, right? CEOs everywhere are looking at their practices like, my next? Who has disdain for me?
Some of the other agencies, they remove their pictures and their names on their agency directory.
So it becomes a conversation of, where do we go from here? What's next? And what started the violence?
Again, we're speaking to that unfairness. We're speaking to maybe oppression. Make a name for myself, control the narrative. Does it come down to control itself? Like, the ability to take a life means that in this moment, or the ability to do harm, maybe not take a life, but to do harm, or to ruin someone's day, essentially, it gives you, at least for a fleeting moment, some control. It gives you something that I did this, and this decision was 100% mine to make. This decision gave me power. I took the power. Or this decision is going to bring me power later on. Like if you look at like Logan Paul or somebody like that, right? The reason he got famous, you know who Logan Paul is, right? He's at YouTube. For those of y'all don't know, Logan Paul is a YouTube boxer. That just sounds crazy. But yeah, he's a YouTube. He was a YouTuber. He did something. He did something foul. He had to make an apology video or something. I think he did something low-key racist, something like that, right? And then to sort of apologize, he offered to box somebody, right? And so in this case, he chose violence as a way of redemption in this particular case. But obviously, he didn't end up redeeming himself. He ended up becoming a bigger asshole. But I think I'm serious. But basically, how the story went, he did something. He had to make a YouTube apology video, and somebody challenged him to a boxing match. He accepted it and won. And then from there, his career skyrocketed. Now he's challenging like everybody, anybody with a platform, right? Because he's choosing violence to make a larger name for himself. Correct. And what started off as a way to redeem himself and have him get his comeuppance on live camera, because everybody thought he was going to lose, because again, YouTuber, he has now made a name for himself. Now, again, this is recreational. This is not murder. No. But it's speaking to the same principle, right? He saw a way to do something to achieve a goal. So violence to achieve a goal.
So he utilized violence as a springboard.
Yes.
For his continuing career, to garner additional fans and support, and to also line his pockets with supporters and fans and endorsements and sponsors. You make money. I mean, again, I think that there is a larger photo or a larger picture with all these different actions, right? Because sometimes we think that things are unattached, or we think that people don't necessarily think in depth about their decision. But the truth is, there is a goal, there is a purpose, and ultimately there might even be some rewards at the end.
Okay, so now back to the CEO guy, right?
Well,
how do you think he could get rewarded other than with fame or making a name for himself?
Let's forget the shooter. Let's talk about the organization in and of itself. Mm-hmm. This is giving the organization a chance to potentially rebrand. This is giving the organization a chance to revisit their leadership. This is giving the organization a chance to look at their policies, practices, and procedures. I mean, you are a world-renowned large stake company that countless people rely on. So you have a responsibility to the people that you are meant to service. So it's threefold here, right? The employees and the workers are potentially looking at new leadership. Well, not possibly. They are looking at new leadership, because that role, I mean, we saw the role go up the next day, do we?
The who?
They posted the role.
They did. And matter of fact, the meeting he was going to, they even continued the meeting without him. Like, it's really foul out here in these streets, man. No decorum, no common decency. No, man, where he at, man?
You're going to be replaced tomorrow.
By the way, if you guys needed a sign
to take a break,
say, quit this job,
do it.
Start your own business. If you ever needed a sign, this is a sign, because this man got clipped. They knew he got clipped, and they continued that meeting without him.
And posted his job
the next day. If you needed a sign to, I don't know, man, if you're
looking at your PTO like, no, I should be a team player. No, I'll take them days.
No, if you needed a sign to not be a team player, fuck them. If you needed a sign to go quit and get another job, if you needed a sign to take that job offer that you've been kind of thinking about it, but you don't want to leave that job because your team members really need you, like they literally need you, or your boss needs you, but they ain't paying you the money. They ain't paying you, y'all need me money, but this other company is, and you want to quit, you want to resign, do it. Because listen, they posted this, his body wasn't even in the ground. They couldn't wait for the funeral before they had that job open. They don't care about you, bro. That leads me to another avenue of choosing violence. Does anyone care if I do? Apart from whoever I'm doing the violence to.
I mean,
does anybody care? Does society care?
We've become so desensitized.
Yes.
We've become so trauma prone. Like we're...
Whoa. Trauma prone? In what way? Unpack that.
I mean, in the sense that we're so used to seeing violence. We're so used to seeing things that are dehumanizing. we're so used to seeing things that are typically disheartening that we are desensitized. Like, the trauma doesn't hit the way it's supposed to. The reaction isn't, oh my goodness, that's so sad. It's like, oh, it's just another day, just another person, just another senseless act. People are not, I'm not going to say they're emotionally gridlocked, but I will say we are not tapping into our emotions the way we would a couple of years back, because we've just seen so much, and we're constantly seeing so much and experiencing so much.
Is that the result of choosing violence, or is that the result of society's failures?
I think that is conditioning. It is.
Okay, unpack. Okay, come on. That's 2 in a row. Unpack that. Come on.
No. In the sense that in order to be able to function,
right,
in order to be able to continue to do day-to-day things, people have to compartmentalize. It's like, I can literally be going through crisis right now.
Are you going through crisis right now?
Leave that alone.
Okay.
It's really a phenomenon. It is a thought-provoking, insightful way to view life, right? For some people to be able to say, hey, I woke up today and I choose violence. I choose violence and I choose harm. Because you can have violence without harm. Let me give you an example. If I take all the straws out of the break room and like nobody has a straw, that's me choosing violence, but not necessarily inflicting harm. Like, they can drink their drink without a straw.
What's something that I do that you can point to where I am choosing violence, but I am not doing harm?
I mean, I would say when you take things from me. like, for example.
What did I do?
Water.
Okay.
Like, sometimes I will come here and I be thirsty and you be the host and you didn't offer me no water.
That's not taking something.
Or rather, you gave me the water and then you drank it.
I decided to take it upon myself and partake in the water. This is not violence. This is thinking smart.
Or for example, being petty, right?
Oh, here we go.
No. Not to say that you are petty or I am petty.
Oh, okay.
But I'm saying being petty is a way to choose violence. Right? Like, if we're thinking about it in a professional context, CCing everybody on the team on an email that literally should have only gone to one person.
Yeah, that's definitely choosing violence. I can't condone that.
You may not necessarily be inflicting harm, because maybe whatever it is you're saying is...
Oh, no, you're inflicting harm. Psychologically speaking, that's harmful, because now it's like, imagine like you really messed up or whatever, or you didn't do something properly, or you just forgot, or you thought you did something and maybe you didn't do it. You know, maybe you thought you forwarded an email and you just didn't do it, or you forgot or whatever, and it was an honest mistake. But now this person who's out to get you, who's choosing violence, CC'd you on that email, and it's like now I gotta end you. I gotta wreck you.
Now I'm gonna wait for an opportunity where you mess up to get back.
And violence begets violence.
Unfortunately.
Right? It's one hand washes the other.
Or let's say in a partnership or in a relationship, right?
Talk to him.
But hear me out. I've been with my partner for like 2 years or whatever it is. And we know we locked in. We just haven't had the opportunity to get to that engagement stage.
No. Are you married?
We're not married.
Are you engaged?
But we gonna get there.
You've been together 2 years.
Right.
And you're not engaged or married.
But we're going to each other's family.
You've been together 2 years. This is violence. He hates you. You've been together 2 years. You're not engaged. You're not married.
But we're talking about it.
Y'all live in the same state?
No.
Oh, okay. So if y'all... Okay, well... Okay. I'm thinking... Okay. If y'all don't live in the same state, it's long distance?
Yeah.
Okay, that's different. I'll give you a pass. But if it's same state, same
everything.
I mean,
but hear me out. But Dewey, let's talk about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You could live down the street from somebody and not see them for months.
I mean, no, I checks in. So how you
let's talk about you and I real quick. I ain't seen you. Shoot.
I haven't been here.
Correct.
That's different.
And you live down the street.
Okay. But I also haven't been here.
Correct. And that's the problem. The problem is that people often want to say that they have influence or they have a role to play because they may be in proximity to something, right? So they're like, let's take the vigilante approach to crime and violence, right?
Right.
It's like, I have to step up and be the fake hero because nobody else has.
Right.
I have to choose violence because the world needs balance. You know, when something violent happens, that makes everybody else around very aware, very attuned.
Cognizant.
Like, it wakes you up.
It's true. That's true.
So somebody might come up and be like, I want to be the reason why everybody today is more mindful. So I'm going to do something that's crazy or a little dangerous.
But that arguably makes the world a little more dangerous because it's like, well, hey, this one dude got away with it, right? You know, my boss been kind of, you know, I've been sick of his stuff lately. You know, I think the world would be a lot better of a place if he wasn't around, you know. Mm-hmm. Some people might think like that. Mm-hmm. And yes, it's not the CEO of United Health, but I don't know, the CEO of
Waffle House.
Waffle House. Well, Waffle House is the agreed upon location to settle and squabble any beef, right? You come hungry, you leave with an ass whooping. So I think this is for another episode, but I think we should bring back dueling. I should be able to legally challenge you to a fight and that be okay. And there should be a duel. As an American citizen, I should have that right? I should have a hearing where we explain why we want to fight and then proceed. Whoever wins, wins, bro. That's it.
But neither lives are lost. Everybody's still safe.
I think if we mutually agree, hey man, I'm taking you out, and he's like, I'm bringing my pistol, I'm taking you out. That should be agreed upon.
No.
Hater.
This is not Bridgerton. We not shooting for honor. So, overarchingly, today we talked about how we are seeing violence perpetuated across different mediums, across different segments of life. We are talking about what influences that violence, what motivates someone to act in a place of violence, and also how communication plays a role. Thank you so much for joining us. Don't forget to send us your thoughts, your ideas. You know, definitely stay engaged with us, and that is Touching the Stone.
Thank you.